going on, everybody? Welcome to the UGAsports.com all things Georgia call-in show. I'm with my co-host, as always, Andy Stowe and Eddie from Acworth. And we're joined by a special guest, 680 The Fans, John Michaels. You see that Miami background there. We'll get to that, folks. He's not leaving out of here. But we appreciate him joining us so much. And, you know, how we do, we'd love to know where you're watching us from. So if you're watching, go ahead and put into the comments section. We'll get it up here on the screen. And then also, if you have any questions, make sure you put those into the comment section as well. Those help this show, keep going, so I don't have to just keep talking and Andy and Eddie had to listen to me. So we've got Foster here already. Foster, what's up, man? How are you? But guys, we'll start off with the Georgia Bulldogs like we do most shows. And I got a text from my father-in-law, and he said, man, they didn't look that impressive. And I think I've come to terms with the fact, and John, I'll start with you, and we'll just kind of go around the room here. I've come to terms with the fact that this team just doesn't really get up for games that they don't have to. They play down to their competition when they have to. We saw what they did against Kentucky. But Vandy, 11 o'clock, you're in a wedding tent getting dressed. You know, it wasn't something that they really wanted to do, I don't think.
Yeah, Paul, you have to remember, and I know you guys do, these are 18 to 22-year-olds, and there are times that human nature kicks in. I said last week on The Fan when they were getting ready for Kentucky, I said the worst thing that could have happened to Kentucky was them having a number next to their name, 21, 20. Because now Kirby Smart can look in and go, look, guys, we're playing a ranked team. We're on TV where everybody's going to be watching us, and we want to put an example and make an example of them. And they did exactly that. I got to get into this, and I get it. Vanderbilt's doing a $50-100 million revamp of their stadium. Come on, man. Go play in the Titans Stadium. Go play in a high school. I mean, the fact that you've got the number one team in the country, a wedding tent was being nice. That was something that when I worked at 790 The Zone, I think we set up one of those tents outside of Tony's for an AFC NFC championship.
Yeah, you did.
You don't bring the national champs in for that. Like, come on, dude. We got to do better than that.
Yeah, that was and I thought about that on our show yesterday. We have an overreaction show. We just overreact about everything, John. And one of my comments was, hey, maybe they talked to the Titans about playing there. And the Titans were like, hey, you can't fill this stadium up, though. So play at your own. Eddie?
Probably could have filled it up with red and black. I mean, come on. Right?
Sure.
Well, let me say this, first of all. I'm upset with my quarterback, Carson Beck, because the rumor is at halftime, we were up 24-7, and he was in the locker room tweeting out on his Instagram how to buy his gear. So that's not a good look for Carson Beck. Of course, I'm kidding, guys. That's what Shedeur Sanders did at Colorado. And the reason I say that is because Kirby Smart would never in a million years let that happen. And if it did happen, the kid would probably be off the team the next day. I just found that amusing that Shedeur Sanders was doing that up 29-0 at halftime, tweeting out how to get his Instagram gear.
How did that game go?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, Paul. You hit the nail on the head.
That game didn't go so well, but this Georgia game also, you kind of sleptwalk through it, Andy.
Yeah, so I said on the POS yesterday, I said good teams beat the teams they're supposed to beat, great teams cover. But then I started thinking about it. 2 weeks ago, we played Kentucky, and they were saying, oh, Kentucky may beat Georgia. Georgia killed them. So it's like, hey, maybe they just sleepwalk through these teams, and then, then when they got to get up, they can get up. So maybe maybe this is just a team that knows what to do. So, yeah, I don't know. They didn't look great, but I don't know. A win's a win, and they go on to Florida. So, overall, I think it was okay. I was real critical of the defense at first, but then when you go back and look, there was only like 2 plays. It was like almost 100 yards. So, they only gave up, was it 20-something yards running?
It was tiny. Yeah. I like how you put that in there, Eddie, because people that are listening to the podcast tomorrow, they're going to have little mini heart attacks for about 5 seconds when you're talking about that. So good job. Thanks for scaring the fans there.
Nothing wrong with a mini heart attack. As long as it's a massive, a mini one's okay.
Yeah. Get it. Yeah. Maybe get it back into rhythm,
Right.
John, so over there on 6A The Fan, are you guys critical of this team, or is this just like what's the vibe on the morning show? You guys got like 10 guys on that show, so
we do.
there's a lot to talk about.
It's a good thing. Some days I could just, when I don't feel like talking, I could take some time off, which is not a bad thing. But we've got such a good mix. A couple of guys that love college football, and me, Joe, and Hut, pro football lovers and home team, and Finn, and then we all kind of like baseball and everything else. The vibe is, honestly, I still don't know what UGA is. I know they're one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country. I truly believe if they lined up against any of the other ones, whether it's Ohio State or Washington, Florida State, Georgia's going to be a favorite, and their big game situation is probably going to allow them to go out and win these type of games. But I still don't know who they are. From quarter to quarter, from half to half.
Yeah.
One half, they look great. They played the second half against Auburn, a second half against South Carolina, where they look like the best team in the country. Kentucky, spurts against Vanderbilt. But I think it's a focus thing, and it sucks. You lost the Oklahoma game to have to play Ball State. That meant you had the whole first month of the season playing nobody. Florida, because they won yesterday, will probably have your attention, and it's the cocktail party. I know people get, you can't call it the cocktail party. It's always the cocktail party to me. Yes. And Tennessee somewhere down the road, maybe Missouri, they get your attention. But truthfully, until that first Saturday in December in Atlanta, playing either LSU or Alabama, there's nobody on the schedule unless Georgia plays a D game that's going to beat this football team.
I've said that all along. And I think, John, that's the scariest part, though, is that you could go undefeated and then you get inside the bins and it all kind of falls apart, unfortunately. That's what I'm concerned about.
Who in the West can beat Georgia? LSU and Alabama? Are those the only 2 schools?
I think they're the only
Texas A&M. I don't think Texas A&M can do it.
Texas A&M, I think there's only 2 teams that still have a chance to beat them is LSU and Alabama. And so they're the only 2 that are going to make it. I think it's going to be Bama, right?
Do you?
Well, John,
I don't trust Bama as far as I can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because John just brought up who is Georgia. Well, I can guarantee you right now there are people in Tuscaloosa saying, who the hell is Alabama? We barely beat Arkansas at home. We won by 3 points and had every opportunity to lose that football game. So if you look across the landscape of college football, I mean, there's 4 or 5 teams, Georgia included, who are the upper echelon, but that upper echelon is a mixed bag of things. Yeah, you could say probably Michigan because they've been blowing out their competition, but who have they really played, right? We don't know. I mean, it's so weird. But John, I think you're right. Georgia's dry, and I'm a fan. I'm a graduate, so you know how I feel about them. They drive me crazy because you watch them and you're like, oh, okay, that's the number 1 team in the country. Oh, wait a minute. That's the number 10 team in the country. Wait a minute. There's the number 1 team in the country. Oh, no, that's the 8 team in the country. It's just this constant thing that they can't seem to put it all together.
Yeah, the great thing about that, though, you're having all that conversation, Eddie. I've known you a long time. For a long time, it was, how the hell did we just lose to Vanderbilt? Or how the hell did we just lose to South Carolina? Yeah. So now the nitpicking is, we only won by 17.
Sure.
I wish I had those first world problems. That's what the Dogs have right now. That's what Michigan fans are saying right now. They're saying, okay, we're winning 52-7, but guess what? Nothing matters until Penn State, Ohio State, and then the playoffs. So those are good problems to have. But I think the best thing you just said there is you can look around the country and you really can nitpick anybody. Mm-hmm. Washington looks really good. I think the Huskies are good. Mm-hmm. But can their defense stand up against an SEC offense? Because I saw them get moved around a lot yesterday against Oregon. Same thing with Oklahoma. I know Brent Venables has changed the culture at Oklahoma. They had the huge win against Texas. Texas had some self-inflicted wounds. You had first and goal at the 1 with a chance to really put that game away and couldn't get it done. Ohio State, it took them to have Notre Dame have a brain fart at the 1-yard line, not have enough people on the field, or Ohio State would have a loss. Mm-hmm. So North Carolina, I'm not buying. I know they kicked the crap out of the Canes yesterday. Guess what? I think we could throw 11 together and take the heart of that group.
So I wanted to ask you this before we move on to other sports, John. With you being a Miami fan, I know Eddie wants to troll you, and I'll let him do that. But as a fan of a team that you have these high hopes, and it's kind of where Georgia fans were, and I feel like, kind of back to your point, Georgia fans have forgotten what it feels like to go into every game and be like, man, this could be a win or this could be a loss. Like they're those tough games. And yes, we nitpick them. I mean, we have an overreaction show where people come on and it'll be, 65-7 in the national championship game. And people find something to, complain about. But that's why we do the show. We love it. But as a fan of a team that is kind of, I want to say, where Georgia was, how does it feel to be there now? Because I don't think Georgia fans understand that.
Feels like utter crap. You look at the beginning of the year, and I have become a lot more of a realist than I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I thought, we should always, and I say Miami should always be in that spot where they can contend with anybody. They have the greatest recruiting area. Obviously had a 20-plus year run where they probably could have won 10 national titles, came away with 5 of them. And since then, they've lost their way. And this year, it felt like, okay, with the transfer portal, with another great recruiting class, you got guys to come back to school. Things are supposed to be there. And unfortunately, in a 30-second brain fart a week ago, where Mario Cristobal forgets that with 37 seconds left, you take a knee and you get a W, I think he changed the trajectory of the year. This was a 9 or a 10-win team. They've got talent. And then you give away a game that you have won. And you could see last night, the first sign of adversity in the second half, that team turtled up and ran away. And it's probably going to happen this week. I think Clemson goes in there and 14 pieces them at minimum. They're going to be lucky to win 2 or 3 more games. And now you're going to be sitting at 7-5 going, what the hell happened? That's where, and Paul, I think you said this spot on. Georgia fans, for times, need to remember that was them. That was 9-3. That was 10-2. The one game I've ever been to at Georgia, you lost to South Carolina's 3rd-string quarterback in 2019. Man. Those are the games that I deal with now, looking, going, how in the hell did we let Georgia Tech stay in a game?
So coming from – oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Andy.
So coming from a team from Miami, when you look at what Georgia has now, you look at what Kirby would never have made that call that Cristobal made. And that's what, Kirby's one of maybe 2 or 3 guys in the country that doesn't make the dumb mistakes. I know from, the Richt era to now, I am appreciating this because it's your worst day, you're still better than 95%. So, it's it's kind of, you're the class of the field. It's pretty awesome, seeing Kirby do his thing and not have to worry about the crazy stuff.
You say that, Andy, but he did make some dumb mistakes.
When
he
first started
on the job, he made some bad mistakes. So
I wasn't going to correct you.
Yeah. He really
It wasn't like that. That's the worst call that's ever happened.
John, I'm not trying to pick a scab here at all.
Oh, you are. He is.
It's still bleeding, so it's not even a scab.
You called it a brain fart, John. Yeah. A brain fart to me is just a mistake. He literally had to turn around. The guy was in shotgun, and he had to catch the ball and then hand it off, and then they fumbled. Who in the history of college football has ever done that? I don't understand what that is. And how was he not fired when the clock hit 0, John?
If you saw my tweets, I said it was the dumbest play I've ever seen. And I was on the sidelines for Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan forgetting all you need to do is run the ball.
Yeah.
I was there. So this was worse because, the Super Bowl, there were still 3 minutes left. You were trying to kick a field goal to go up 2 touchdowns. Kyle Shanahan was trying to be aggressive, and we don't need to relive that because that pisses me off every time I think about it. Mario, I was being nice with brain fart. This has happened 3 times in college football history. Kevin Steele did it in 1999 as a head coach of Baylor. They had 4. It was a goal-to-go situation at the 1 going in to win. All you got to do is take a knee. They ran a play, fumbled it. UNLV returned it 99 yards for a touchdown to win. Mario Cristobal also did it in 2000
in Oregon. Yeah.
And here's the biggest thing. Javon Holland played safety at Oregon at that time. He's now safety for the Dolphins. I'm good friends with the guys that do afternoons in Miami. They had Javon Holland on Monday after Mario forgot to take a knee. Javon Holland said at Oregon when that was transpiring, the defensive players were untaping. They were taking their gloves off. They were like, game's over.
Yeah.
And now you got to go back out and make a stop. So, yeah, it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It led off what was a terrible week of sports for me. These last 7 days between what the Canes have done, what the Falcons did today, and what the Atlanta Braves didn't do, it felt like old Atlanta, and I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
Did he lose? Did he lose the locker room? Has the team turned on him, or?
I don't think so, but he's lost a lot of the fan base. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, how can the fan base stand behind that? I don't understand. How do you defend that?
There's no defense.
How do you stand up there and say this was what I was thinking? There is no thinking with that.
I don't think there is. Real quick.
Sorry, John. We picked it enough.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Before we get off of Georgia, Ronald Taylor says, "What's y'all's opinion on the rest of the Georgia season? We all agree probably undefeated until SEC championship game. Yeah.
They're going to the playoffs. Here's the thing. If they're undefeated, which they will be, and get to the SEC title game, even if they lost the game to LSU or Bama, there is no chance, unless they lost like 60-0, which isn't happening. There's no chance the committee goes, we're going to take out a one-loss back-to-back national champion and not put them in the playoffs.
I don't know that I agree with you.
Really?
I don't know that I agree with you. I think if Georgia goes out there and loses to Alabama or LSU, I think they're out. Now, I will say that depends on what happens around the rest of the country, right? But I think if Georgia goes out there and I say last second field goal, they lose to Alabama or LSU, I think there's a notion to put a Washington in there or, a North Carolina, say, if they come undefeated. They're going to put them ahead of Georgia because I think the committee's sick of this with the SEC. I really do.
And you might be right. And I was going to say with that,
and the schedule's terrible.
The schedule doesn't help them, but the cachet of being back-to-back national champions does. And I think what you just said about teams cannibalizing each other, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan all play each other.
Yeah,
so you have to assume two of them are going to take losses, if not all three of them. Washington's already maybe knocked out Oregon. They'd potentially have to play Oregon again in a Pac-12 championship game. North Carolina's going to lose somewhere. Florida State, the only place I could see them losing at this point is probably in the ACC championship game against North Carolina. But that's going to leave it down to one or two undefeated teams. And even especially if it's LSU, they've already got a couple of losses. They're out. I still think Georgia will get in. Now, what Georgia can ill afford is a loss during the regular season and then another loss, because the committee has always showed now 2 losses, you're done.
Yeah.
And TCU lost their championship game last year and still got in. And so, there's no way they'll keep Georgia out if it's a one loss.
2 years ago, Georgia lost the championship game.
Exactly. Won the national championship. Yeah.
I'll tell you, there's one game to circle on the schedule. It's Ole Miss versus Georgia. Ole Miss is going to win every game until they get to Georgia. They're going to be looking pretty good. That's probably the toughest task left. Jeff Rollins asks, he says, dude, JM, I loved you on 929. Where are you at now?
680 The Fan. I've been there for a few years. We do mornings from 6 to 10. That the old station, we'll just say I'm not there any longer.
Hey, John, since we're on that topic, will you talk about your show and the 4 other people you have and where people can listen to you 6 to 10 on 680 The Fan? Go ahead.
Absolutely. 6 to 10, Monday through Friday on 680 The Fan. Download our app is probably the best way. 680 The Fan app. You can listen to it whether you're out in Athens, whether you're out, in the suburbs around Atlanta or whatnot, or 93.7 FM if you're inside the city. It's myself, home team Brandon Leak, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's been doing radio for 25 years in Atlanta, one of the best dudes you'll ever meet. Brian Finneran, former Falcon, longtime 680 morning host. He's there as well. Hudson Mason, former Dog quarterback, also making calls on ESPN. And then who should have won the Heisman in 1999, Joe Hamilton's with us as well, and he's on the Georgia Tech radio broadcast. So I'm the only one that doesn't have true ties to Atlanta, although I've been here 25 years now. I think I've earned my stripes at this point.
And I'll say this about that show, John. I when it first came up and I was like, 5 people in the morning, that sounds really, really hard to do, I would say. But you guys do a great job kicking it around. It's just a really good listen. You guys do a fantastic job with all 5 people, because 5 to me seems too many, but it works.
True story, Eddie. When they sat down, because it was Finn and I with Dan Matthews and kind of a group, and
Danny boy.
Yeah, home team and Joe were doing 9 to 11, and then Hut was on with Buck. When they came to us, and I've said this openly, so it's not a surprise. When they came to us and goes, the 5 of you guys are going to be together, I literally raised my hand. I go, who are you trying to fire?
Yeah, really?
100%. I've been in radio long enough where they throw something together. You go, oh boy, somebody's getting let go. But luckily, none of us have. I knock on wood, we all re-sign contracts for a long term. So I got a feeling our show's going to be here as long as they want to keep us, which I'm glad with, because this business is, as you guys well know, you could be here today and be on the streets tomorrow. So I'm thankful for everything the Fan has given me a chance to do.
That's awesome.
Apparently, you used to have a Falcons win parody song.
I did my Falcon raps every Monday.
Yep. I remember those well.
Victory Monday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's a great transition to the Atlanta Falcons of today, which I'm sure there won't be a wrap tomorrow, obviously, with this Falcons team, man. Boy, that was a tough watch. That was I think I've watched Red Zone the first couple of weeks, and I was really intrigued with that. And so I kind of this week was the first time I honed in, watched the whole Falcons game, first snap to last snap, didn't have any distractions. And that's that quarterback, man, and the decisions that are made. Like I really wanted. I came into the season, I was like, man. And you look back at how Russell Wilson was, 3rd round pick. You're able to build around him because he didn't have a huge contract. I was like, maybe that can be Desmond Ridder, right? For these Falcons, you build around him. You don't have to pay him a ton of money. I don't think that's the case, though. It's just this guy, John. Take the words out of my mouth, man. You do it for a living. I mean, it's just not fun to watch.
Yeah, he's an unproven entity, and I think the biggest problem I have right now is Arthur Smith's not putting him in position for easy plays. I mean, you look around. And I watch a lot of games. I'll have my iPad on one. I got the Falcons on the big screen, and I'm flipping back and forth. And I'll watch other offenses that just look fluid. You know, other offenses where it's, okay, if I need a 5-yard throw, I can find an easy 5-yard throw. Everything for this team just feels like a grind. They're not running the ball nearly as well as they did a year ago, which is surprising because you have Bijan back there instead of Cordero Patterson. Your receivers aren't really getting separation. There was a throw to Kyle Pitts today. He catches the in-breaking route and should have been out the gate, and you can just see the leg isn't right.
Yeah, he looks slow. He looks slow. Yeah.
He looks like he's got some giddy up in the leg. And then Desmond Ridder, you're talking about a guy with 10 starts. They put all their eggs in that basket. And they said, this is going to be our guy this year or not. The lucky thing is you're in such an awful division. 3-3, you're tied for first. Could have been all alone in first today at 4-2. But Ridder just doesn't feel like a guy that without help around him can really carry anything.
But John, I'll go to you, Andy, next. But there is help around him. Right? They had a 1st-round running back, a 1st-round wide receiver, and a 1st-round tight end. And I think before last week, it might be I don't know how many you caught this week. Your leading receiver was Jonnu Smith.
Yep,
and not any of those guys. They have the talent according to 1st-round picks, right? But I mean, it's just like you said, it's tough football to watch, and every yard is a absolute grind. Andy?
Well, you see him struggling to get the play in, and then you see him on the sideline, Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder arguing with one another. And I mean,
are you talking about the timeout right there at the end?
Spike the ball to get, and then you take a timeout because you couldn't get a play in, and then you see him on the sideline arguing with each other. It's Arthur Smith. I think he is in over his head, and I don't think he's a very good coach. I just don't think he's not interested in winning. I don't know if it's that. I just don't think he's good at it. I just don't think he's a good coach. And I mean, you can't get the play in. If the quarterback is over there telling you we didn't get the play in, and he's fussing at the quarterback, I guess Matt Ryan tried to take up for Arthur Smith a little bit. He was saying, well, you gotta be able to learn that, and then you're the quarterback, blah blah blah. But it's got to be Arthur Smith. They're not organized. They do not get going. I mean, they went. Let's see, they had a delay a game, and they had a play, spiked the ball, and was about to have another delay a game and had to take a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
Their last timeout.
Last timeout. Yes, the very last one they had.
Is it time for Arthur Blank to look for a new head coach?
That was last
year. To me?
I'm talking to whoever wants to answer that.
I'll answer that. Yes, but he won't, because that's his billionaire buddy. And Andy, you just went through a lot of good stuff, but you left out the one thing. Please explain to me, when you score a touchdown and you're down by eight touchdown and you go for 2, what are you doing? And then the other team commits a penalty, so you move it a little closer, and then you go for 2 again, and you don't get it. Guess what? You're chasing those points the rest of the game. What are you doing, Arthur Smith? I thought that was we talked about Mario Cristobal being the dumbest person on the planet last week. I think Arthur Smith is the dumbest person on the planet this week. How do you defend that, John Michaels? That was ridiculous.
You don't. The problem is there are, and I hate to call them nerds, but there's nerds, and we'll get into this with Brian Snicker as well. They're nerds that are called analysts who have these stupid charts. And the new thing in the NFL, this isn't just Arthur Smith. I've watched a lot of coaches do this. They say the percentages are actually easier to hit one of the two-point conversions than just going to hit 2 extra points. So the thought process is you go for the first one, which I don't agree with at all. The analytics are telling them go for the first 2-point conversion. If you get it, then you kick the extra point the next time you win the game by 1. If you don't, the percentages you will get the second one and you'll still be tied. It makes zero sense to me.
Wait. Let me stop you there, John. Is that because the extra point has been pushed back? Is that what the analytics are talking about? Because Koo nails extra points. Who cares?
But when did that come about? I don't feel like that was a thing last year or the year. I mean, the field goal has been pushed back for a while.
It's been the last couple of years. If you watch some of the games around the league, you'll see teams down 2 scores, especially in the fourth quarter, sometimes going for 2. Again, I don't agree with it at all. We're going to yell at Arthur Smith tomorrow. I think it's one of the dumbest things ever. But that's the analytics. And again, that's where you have too many chefs in the kitchen. You have too many people in the ear trying to tell people what's supposed to work. Eddie, we've watched football for 40 years. You know what? You line up, you kick the extra point, you're down 7. The next time you get it, you score a touchdown, and then you tie the game. Yeah. That's it.
Well, my prediction, I texted Andy and Paul. I said, we're going to lose this game because of that 2-point conversion. We're going to go down. Now, we didn't, but I mean, we're going to go down there and score, and we're not going to get the 2-point conversion. We're going to lose. And how's Arthur Smith going to answer to that? You know, it's just stupid as hell. It makes no sense. And you know what? The damn Falcons, that's all they live to antagonize me and all the other fans who root for this team. They live for it. It's just ridiculous. And you know where it starts, John Michaels? You can comment on this if you want. It starts with Arthur Blank.
It's the very top.
Since he came to the sidelines when it was 28-3, and he was down there on the sidelines looking so happy, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Since that point, it's been all downhill, all of it.
The problem
It's been downhill when he pushed Michael Vick in the wheelchair.
Well, I know. I'll give him a break there because we were kind of on the rise at that point. But since 28-3, it's been downhill.
Yeah, the problem with since 28-3, you've been chasing that fourth quarter for 6 years now.
Yeah.
The year after that, you ran it back basically. And again, you're in Philadelphia with 2nd and goal at the 3 with a chance to go back to the NFC title game. You can't get it. You can't get the ball in the end zone.
The greatest receiver in the history of football, right? And he can't catch the football.
Can't catch the ball.
The year after that, game 1, you lose Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, and I want to say Brian Poole, all in the opener, and the season goes sideways. You should have, at the end of 18, gotten rid of Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, yet you let them stick around for 19. Well, now 20 comes, you give Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith a full-on pass because it's the COVID year. 21, you give them a full-on pass. I guess it's 21 and 22. You give them passes because the salary cap was so screwed up from before.
Right.
All right, so they're really just getting judged based on this year. And now this year, I've said it's playoffs or bust. I don't want to hear anything. You spent $60-some-odd million in cap space. You put this roster together as a group. You have no reason with this soft-ass schedule to not make the playoffs.
So will they fire Arthur Smith?
No.
Do you think that?
Hell no.
No.
And that's the point. I mean, they're not going to get rid of him. And you saw he didn't let Desmond Ridder play last year, 4 games instead of Mariota. Didn't play in the preseason. It's a waste. Last year was a waste. The preseason was a waste, and this year is going to be a waste as well because he's just learning now. I mean, he's still technically a rookie. So,
Andy, that was the biggest malfeasance a year ago. About the time on Thursday night where Marcus Mariota tried to throw a ball off of his back.
Yep.
And you had a bye week or a mini bye.
Exactly.
You didn't bench him right then. That told me all I needed to know. And the problem was they held on to the fake hope, the mathematical existence that they could have made the playoffs a year ago. Yep. And it wasn't until they were mathematically eliminated they made the change. Then you played him 19 snaps in preseason, I think, which was all one drive.
Yep.
That is.
He should have been out there every damn game for a quarter getting some reps. Here we are in week 6.
Patrick Mahomes played in the preseason, guys.
If that guy can play in the preseason, the guy that was a 3rd-round pick and is done nothing can play. Yeah,
no doubt.
So you didn't see this because you don't watch our show, John, because you've got other things to do, and I understand that. But this is actually a picture of Eddie here when he gets going. He's the old man yells at clouds from The Simpsons. We love him, but that's him. So
my question is always, am I wrong? Am I wrong, John Michaels?
No, you're not wrong at all.
Thank you. You can call me old man. You can say I'm yelling at clouds, but I'm right.
Up until week
shut
one,
up, Paul.
Up until week one, the Falcons had not been over 500 at any point of a season since the Philadelphia game at the end of the 17th season. Mm-hmm. That's the dumbest stat I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. Yet we continue. Oh, we're fine. Oh, we suck. Now the team this year is better than they were last year. Defensively, I think they're good. Yeah. I mean, they've kept us in games week in and week out. But goodness gracious, can we ham, no burger, peanut butter, no jelly? We can never have things nice at the same damn time. I need sugar in my tea, so it's sweet tea.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you were at home, right? Desmond Ridder hasn't lost it. That's what we've heard, right? Desmond Ridder hasn't lost at home since, freshman JV team back in high school. Kid's a crazy good athlete at home. Well,
that's over.
I'm glad that narrative is gone now,
Let me ask you guys a question about Desmond Ridder. I'll pose it to you, Andy, because Desmond Ridder drives me crazy because he'll throw a ball and I'll be like, holy crap, that was an amazing throw. And then next play, he's throwing an interception or he's making a throw in the end zone. It's a pick. Right. It's just this constant thing of good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. There's no consistency at all.
Is that because he has no experience and he should have been taking snaps last year? He should have been taking snaps in the preseason, or does he just not have the talent? I mean, I think he's got some talent. I don't think he's the next Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. Where John Michaels? I'll start with you and we'll go around the horn. Out of the 32 NFL teams, right?
Yeah.
Where does he rank right now? Starting quarterback.
He's a bottom 6 or 7 quarterback in this league. And I might be being nice saying bottom 6 or 7. I'm trying to think out loud who I would take Desmond Ridder over.
Right.
Maybe Baker Mayfield. Daniel Jones, I think, is an absolute bum, although I'm not sure how Desmond Ridder would perform up there. He's better than Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't many.
There's not a lot.
And you're done, by the way. You're done.
Right. Yeah. Maybe he's better than Mac Jones. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might take Mac Jones, honestly. Like if you're asking me, hey, take this quarterback instead of Desmond Ridder, I might. And Mac Jones has played terrible football this year, but I might take old Mac Jones. There's not a lot. And hell, even I don't know. I might take Baker. I really might. If you were to say, hey, swap them out, contracts don't matter. Right. I might take Baker, honestly. I might. So it's tough, man. It's tough to kind of get after that. Roger Murray says, can we get Ben out of the VFW and on the show? So we've got a guy, John, that he works for us. He's crazy. So he's don't get us started on him, but he comes out sometimes. He didn't come out last night. Anything else on these Falcons, guys? The schedule looked decent for them moving forward.
Does. I mean, think about it. The Buccaneers are not good. Yeah, the Titans are terrible. The Vikings might be on a fire sale by the time we play them.
Yeah.
Cardinals aren't good. The Saints aren't good. The Jets aren't good.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks aren't good. This is set up where if you can play, 6 games in, you've got 11 games left. Can you go 7-4 and finish at 10? Because 10-7 is going to win this division, I think.
The Saints lost today. The Bucks lost today, right?
The Panthers are winless.
If the Saints lose, I can salivate. I can deal with the Falcons loss as long as the Saints lose. It doesn't matter, and the division is right there.
Would you rather them win the division, or would you rather them just completely tank and get a better draft pick?
No.
What are they going to do with a draft pick? Right. What have they done? What are they going to do?
We're going to draft 8, and we're going to leave.
We'll probably draft another tight end.
Another tailback or something.
It won't be Brock Bowers. It'll be some tight end from Iowa or some bullshit. Sorry, Paul. Put it up. No. Yelling at clouds.
I already got rid of it. Or
you're not wrong. I never believe in tanking because I think the last time I've seen Eddie face-to-face might have been in 2016 at the Georgia Dome as we played Green Bay. There's nothing better than playoff football. I don't care if you're not a legit Super Bowl contending team. Get me to January where our team actually plays a damn game. I'm tired of watching the other 31 teams in the NFL sit in the playoffs, and come December we go, all right, let's look at mock drafts.
Yeah.
I hate that. I want to look at mock drafts in April. Not in December.
I don't know. I just get tired of looking at the mock drafts when it's because the Falcons went 7-10, 8-9,
Right.
9-8. I'm
they're
tired of
drafting.
being.
And John, you said that was the last time I saw you, and that was the greatest night of my life as a Falcons fan. I'll never forget this now. When Julio took that to the house, okay, there was a black woman sitting right next to me. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. We were hugging each other and screaming, "We're going to win the Super Bowl." Okay. That's what we thought when that happened. You remember that? We shut down the dome with that win, right? And we had it. We were done. That was it. We had the best team in the NFL. And I want to come to you on this, John. I want to talk to you. I want you to please tell us where you were. I know you were covering the team, right? You were on the sidelines for 28-3.
Yep.
So tell us about that night briefly. I just want to hear quickly from you.
Why?
Why not? Oh, you stop it, Paul. I mean, come on. I want to hear from John's mouth what happened that night.
So the week, and I have to give the backstory. The week leading up is honestly one of the greatest weeks I've ever
Look at Paul's
had.
face. Paul's about to have a fit. Look at it. I
I
love
just
this.
don't know why. Like,
I'm
this
just
is
poking
pain.
the bear.
So
This is
Just
pain.
whatever.
That
It's
week-
Atlanta.
that week was one of the greatest weeks I've ever had in this business. Just the chance one.
Right? It was 2 weeks then? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we only went for a week. I'm saying.
Oh, that's right. It was.
Yeah. So the week before, we're still in Atlanta doing shows. And then that Sunday, I flew out with the team with Bo Morgan and Arch and Wes and all the guys, Mike Conti. The rest of what was, I used to work for 92.9 at that point. The rest of 92.9 guys got on the Wade Ford tailgate bus and drove. So Paul Bible, Mark Owens, Mike Bell, Dukes, all of those guys, they were on a bus driving. The whole week, we are rock stars. Like legit, we're rocks. Anywhere somebody from Atlanta went, it was, hey, we want to talk to you. Hey, do this. Getting to meet all the heroes of my life, everything. And going into the game, I had supreme confidence we were going to win. We were better than England. I'll remember Tevin Coleman catches the flat route to put us up 28-3. And I'm standing right next to Aaron Andrews, who I'd gotten to know over the years doing sidelines. I look at Aaron and I fist pump. I go, we're winning the mother Super Bowl. And I go sprinting down the field. We got this. Fast forward, it's 28-20. Julio makes the catch on the sidelines. And remember who our quarterback coach was that year. Matt LaFleur was the QB coach. And I had gotten to be real cool with Coach LaFleur. And LaFleur high-fives me and goes, that's the catch they're going to remember forever that just won us the Super Bowl. And I'm like, you're right. My wife, who is a Saints fan, against me, texts me at the end of the third quarter and goes, babe, you're going to get a Super Bowl ring. How awesome is this? And then every time, and I've never gone back and rewatched the end of the game. I've never once watched a snap from that game. Watching it was like watching a scary movie when Jason Voorhees was about to lop your head off. But you're watching it in slow motion. And I'm going, please, let me be the one guy that escapes, or let us as a unit be the one guy that escapes. And we don't. And I openly, I'll tell you, I cried on the side. I had tears in my eyes leaving the field. I had to then go upstairs and do an hour-and-a-half post-game show in the booth with Mike Conti. Poor Mike Conti. I looked at him and I said, don't ask for an ounce of analysis. Then the funniest, it's not even funny. I was staying at the team hotel, so I take the last bus back to the hotel. I get there, and our hotel was literally like Fort Knox. Armed security, M16s. If you didn't have this certain badge, you couldn't get within like 100 yards of the hotel. So we get off the bus. You have to show this badge. I walk in. The players' families were allowed in the hotel for the first time. And a couple of members of the staff tap me and they go, hey, put the bracelet on, go up to floor 4. I go, dude, I'm going to bed. They go, no. Just go up to floor 4. Lil Jon, Young Jeezy, 2 Chainz. You have to remember, Paul, as you're shaking your head, they had to book the Super Bowl party as if we're going to win. Well, at this point, we already lost the game. So I went up there and got hammer time. I drank with a lot of former players. What was our guy that had the torn Achilles? Derek Shelby. Shelby's making me take shots of bourbon about this big, hanging out with Matt Bosher, who I got to know really well over the years. And, the players are devastated. But at that point, what do? We got music blasting. There's DJs. Everybody's family's there. Nobody was really partying. But I was like, there's free alcohol, and we leave at 9 o'clock in the morning. The quietest flight I've ever been on in my life was that flight home. Nobody said a single word for an hour and a half. And it's unfortunately what went from being the greatest week ever. Obviously, the way that it ended really sucked.
Did you get your wish now, Eddie? That's what you wanted? You wanted to hear that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, Paul, we all lived through it. It's okay to talk about it. I mean, my God, it happened, right? I mean, my God.
John hasn't even watched the ending of the game again, and you're making.
I'll never rewatch.
He doesn't have to.
No.
So you were on the Falcons broadcast, so you would have gotten a ring, John?
Yep.
Oh.
Now it would not have been like the one that the players get. They get
still,
We would have gotten $2,000. But either way, I'd have been wearing that thing like Aquaman. Trying to get things right. So yeah, that was disappointing. And then living with a Saints fan. Every now and then I have to hear her go, we didn't blow a 28-3 lead.
I know.
We have a Super Bowl. That's what I have to deal with.
They have a billboard in New Orleans that says 28-3, or they did for a while.
They do. As I reach up to my A.J. Terrell autographed helmet sitting right above me, going,
okay, Paul, we can move on now.
Yeah, we can.
Hey, somebody said, gee, thanks, Eddie. I'm now throwing up thinking about it. Congrats, Eddie. You got your wish. Speaking of not getting a ring, I guess we'll just go into this as well. The Braves aren't getting one this year either.
Great.
So
you just pile the poo on top of the poo, right?
Hey, we got it. It's All Things Georgia show. We got to do it, right? So I want to get your take on this, John Michaels. I think the week off, and I know people say, oh, that's you're making a excuse, right? 3 of the 4 teams that got that week off are no longer playing. The Houston Astros, they're just a different breed. They're born for October. Does that week matter?
Man, when I hear our own players say no, I'm going to err on the side of no. Now,
do you think they'd really tell us yes?
No.
Probably not.
Right.
But
right.
You just ran into a buzz. What you ran into, and I think with the Diamondback side as well, what the Dodgers and the Braves ran into were teams that had zero fear of them. Like during the regular season, you think about it. If you're the Braves and you pull into, I don't know, just pick a race. You pull into Texas to play the Rangers, and the Rangers are a really good team. But the Rangers look up, man, this Braves team are monsters. If you pull into Kansas City, oh my goodness, we got to play the Braves. Philadelphia goes, we've played these dudes 13 times already. We just eliminated them last year. We don't care. The biggest surprise to me was your supposed strength turned into your biggest weakness. I know people want to bang on Alex Anthopoulos. You didn't trade for a pitcher at the deadline. You lost games in which you gave up 3 and 3 runs. Twice. Now the 10-run, different story. But you scored 0, 5, 2, and 1. That's why you lost the series.
They had a batting average of 186 in the postseason. 186. Their on-base percentage was 255. You can talk about Bryce Elder, and I'm not a Bryce Elder fan. We can talk about him all day long and how he got shaved.
Paul is. That's Paul's boy.
It's my guy.
It didn't matter. They hit 186. Like I don't care who's pitching. It could be Greg Maddux and John Smoltz and Tom Glavine.
But here's the thing with that though. You had a week off, so baseball is a game of repetition. You play 162 games. You barely get any days off. And then you get a whole week off. Your bats, it does something to them. I'm telling you, it does. Eddie, am I wrong there?
The Astros don't care about that.
Look, the Astros are a different beast. Like they are. They just are.
And why are we not?
Why are they different?
What's different? What is different about
How
the
are they
Astros?
different? 7 straight ALCSs. 7 straight.
Yeah.
They
got heart and nuts.
We did for 3 innings of this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we did that. What was it? Game 2. We had it in that game too. And then it went away. That was also my next point, Eddie. Who is the guy that brings the juice on this team? You got Acuna, who is I don't know if he's a leader yet, right? Who is the leader on this team? You look back when they won the World Series, you had leaders. You had Freddie Freeman. You had Dansby there. Who is the leader? That's, I think, the problem. You look at the Phillies, dude, Nick Castellanos, catch him in an alley, that dude will knock you straight out. Like he doesn't play. Bryce Harper, that dude's knocking you out. JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, like those dudes, that you put them up against our guys in like an actual bar fight, we're getting our asses handed to us. There's no goons on this team.
Absolutely right. And I'm going to say this right now, and it's probably hard to hear. It's fake swagger. I'm sorry. It was fake swagger. Okay. Let's reverse the situation. If Ronald Acuna hits a home run and stares down Trey Turner for something he said, and then crosses home plate and does this, what happens the next at bat?
He takes one in the ribs.
He takes one in the freaking head.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. We did none of that. Now, I'm not saying you go out there.
Hell, he hit another home run and looked at him again.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. We did not have a dude on this team. Now, all that being said, the dude came up in the 7th inning of that last game with the bases loaded and flied out to center. That was the
fly
dude.
out is a tough word. That was a damn good catch.
Yeah, he had a great at bat. That was the best at bat of the whole series.
Yeah,
fouling off pitches, doing whatever, and then he hits one up the alley that they track down.
Right. If they didn't have that center fielder running a damn 10-200 out there, it's probably getting down.
It's an out.
It is.
If Michael Harris doesn't make an incredible catch, we get swept. Right. Yep. So you 100%. Can say that all day long. I mean, are you going to do that every time?
Look, I brought it back just for you.
I mean, am I the only one that's upset? Yes, I have gray hair because of the teams I root for. Right. Yes, I have gray hair. Okay. And I'm speaking the truth. I
want to ask you guys.
Go ahead.
I want to ask you guys because I got a lot of pushback from my show. I said before the year, this team was World Series or bust. When you put together a group like that, and I said this, I asked Derek Schiller, the president of the team, is it World Series or bust?
Well,
he kind of looked at me. He's not, but I am. My job is to analyze and look. They had the best team in baseball, proven out through 162 games. We came back in on Monday. I said this season's an epic failure. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Finn, and they were like, it's not a failure. You don't break all these records. Those records don't mean a damn thing. Who cares? Nothing. When Giannis Antetokounmpo got eliminated in the first round, and he had that little stupid speech where he said, there's no winners and losers in sports. I said right then, Mike Budenholzer should be fired. And, of course, the guys on my show thought I was stupid. And about 4 days later, Mike Budenholzer was fired because you can't have that team and lose. And I'm not saying Brian Snitker should be fired. No. But I got to have a conversation right about now before we turn into the 90s Braves where we keep winning these stupid divisions and we can't win championships.
John, we're already there. Sorry, we're there. I mean, that's 2 years in a row you've lost to the enemy in Philadelphia, okay? You got pumped 2 years in a row, right? And I keep saying it. It's fake swagger. They came up and I told my son, he's the biggest Braves fan. He's more than I am. I said, son, I can't wait to sit down with you and watch all these records from the regular season. Right. Jokingly. Who gives two craps now? None of it means anything because we didn't get it done when it mattered. The Phillies did, okay? And you know what's the worst part about it? The Phillies are going to have on their ring Attaboy Harper. They're going to inscribe that on their ring, and we gave them that.
I am praying for the Diamondbacks or the Astros or the Rangers or somebody. And I like John Kincaid. He's been my boy for a long time. I don't need to hear him and those Philly-ass clowns because they're already tagging us for the hype video that we did.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys got that.
Oh, dude, I got random Philly people. How'd you like that? Oh, and you like the Canes too. I'm like, this has been a crappy week of sports. Makes me wonder, like, why do I love sports so damn much? Because we get a lot more heartache, Eddie, than we ever do getting that satisfaction, do we?
But I want to ask you guys, what do we do about this? Because, I mean, we can go back to the 90s. You win, 14 divisions in a row, right?
14.
14? Okay.
14.
You got one title out of that. One. I don't even know how that's fathomable, first of all, if you look back on that, okay? One. Now we're in another predicament here. Yeah, 2 years ago was fantastic. It was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. But 2 years in a row now, we have been eliminated by the Phillies. Mm-hmm. And we had the greatest season probably since the 1921 Yankees. And I'm not exaggerating with that. We really did. And we got eliminated in the first round. So what do we do going forward? Is it a pitching problem? Is it a hitting problem? Is it both? Is it neither? Is it a Snitker problem? Because Snitker needs to come into question here, changing the lineup in the first game, keeping Elder in there after Castellanos hits that home run.
Right.
What do we need to do to change this? Because something needs to be changed next year. John, go.
One, pitching has got to be addressed. You have two starters right now, and that's Strider and Fried. I'm not re-signing Charlie Morton at $20 million.
No.
I think that's what his team option is. Love you, Charlie, but that's got to go. Bryce Elder to me is a number 5 at best. I know he had lightning in a bottle for the first half of the season. I don't need to see him. You do have some young guys I'm intrigued with. AJ Smith-Shaver and is it Hudson Waldrop, the young kid that they drafted?
Hurston Waldrop.
Yep. Those guys I'm intrigued with, but I'm going out and signing somebody. And there are free agents available that you could have. Take that 20 from Eddie, even if it means another 8 or 9 for somebody better, and go spend that money. Somebody that I could put next to Strider, because let's be real, there's no guarantee they're going to re-sign Fried long term.
No, I don't think
they're going to. That as well. So, and I also think you need to get rid of. As great as Ozuna played, and as much as Eddie Rosario did for you a couple of years ago, I think it's time to maybe facilitate a trade if somebody will take them, guys that can put the ball in play in postseason play.
So Marcell Ozuna has next year, and then he's got an option for the year after.
Right.
And he's never going to hit 40 home runs again. You've got to trade him. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you could pick your starting 5 going into next year, who is it?
Strider, Fried.
Okay.
Smith-Shaver, Elder, Aaron Nola.
Okay.
Not in that order, but I'd love to get Nola. I mean, he's an October pitcher. You team him up with those guys. I'm fine with that.
I could go with that as well. And I forgot who I looked at. Like a little bit cheaper, you go get a Luis Severini who throws, mid-90s, although he didn't pitch well in New York. We've seen guys in the past not be able to pitch in the Bronx and go other places and get things done. I'd have to go back and look. There were a couple of starters I looked at and thought these could be guys that I'd like to see here. Waldrop is the one to me. You're talking about a kid that was drafted. I think was playing in the College World Series in June.
Yeah.
And was at AAA Gwinnett at the end of the year. So I think that kid's got some intriguing promise. Smith-Shaver the same way. I also want guys that throw and can strike people out.
Yeah.
I don't need Bryce Elder's nibbling ass up there in the playoffs trying to hit a spot. No, I need somebody that throws 98.
Paul's about to cry.
You're not going to like this. You're not going to like this. Strider, Fried, Trevor Bauer, Aaron Nola.
Ooh.
That's my
point. Trevor Bauer's the guy that could upset the upper cart. He's the guy that brings, you talking about swagger? The dude turns around and throws the ball over the center field wall, and Tito comes and takes him out. You want swagger? That's a guy to get.
Yep.
Who knows about his legal stuff? If that'll, I mean, I know it's clear.
Well,
but
if you look what he put out, it doesn't look good for her. So
I think he's clear of that. But I mean, does that mean he'll end
the
up
Braves
back?
Are willing to go down that road. They did it with Marcell Ozuna, right?
Yeah.
Friday Brace. Ozuna Friday Brace.
Okay. Well, here's your question though. If they don't pick up Charlie Morton's $20 million option, which I don't think they will, would you re-sign him for $10 million and be your 4th starter?
Ooh.
No, not at 40.
At 40?
Does it stop me from getting somebody else?
That's the thing. So I want Trevor. If I can pick any pitcher, it's Trevor Bauer. I love that guy. He is my guy. I like the day he threw the ball over center field. I fell in love with that dude. But Spencer Strider, Max Fried, Aaron Nola, Charlie Morton as your 4, and then you would have AJ Smith-Shaver or Bryce Elder or Darius Fines or Waldrop or Alan Winus, any of those guys. But if you have Charlie Morton as your 4 and he struck out, he averaged 8 a game. Is that right?
Yeah, but he couldn't pitch. He couldn't pitch in the NLDS, and it threw our whole thing off.
I know, I agree, but that's what. If you can get him for $10 million to be your 4, that's pretty good.
Dude, how much are you giving up for Blake Snell? He's a free agent as well. That was the name. I had to go back. I was sitting here scrolling while we're talking, trying to find pitchers. Ooh. Blake Snell is a name as a lefty, 30 years old. He's never made more than $10 million in a year. You give him 20 to 25 over a 3-year deal, 4-year deal. I'm all in for it.
Well, let me ask you this though: do you give Blake Snell 25 a year and let Max Fried walk at the end of the year?
Okay, now you're getting a little too crazy, but I would give him $25 million a year.
Yeah.
If we're gonna pay Charlie 20, hell yeah, give this.
Yeah.
He went 14-9 last year, 2.25 ERA, 180 innings pitched, and 234 strikeouts.
Yep.
Yeah.
But does that mean let Max Fried go? Because if they sign him,
I'll deal with that next year. Look, I'll deal with that next year.
Right, and the thing is, I think.
Well, then do you trade Max Fried if you know you're not re-signing?
You better.
You trade
You
him
better.
this offseason?
You better.
Or you're going to end up like Ohtani with the Angels.
Yep.
Freddie Freeman walked. Dansby Swanson walked. We didn't get anything
right.
for
You
them.
know what? Freddie had one, or Freddie and what's your boy Mookie Betts combined for one hit. So I don't want to hear the Freddie narrative either.
This is all fine and good, but this is not what Alex Anthopoulos does. And I don't know if it's because of what's above him. I don't know. He doesn't do these types of things. Y'all know this. He nibbles on the edges with stuff. He doesn't sign stuff like this.
And he makes good trades, though. He does make good trades.
I'm not arguing that, but it's middle. If I'd have come to you, Paul, 2 years ago and said, we just got Jorge Soler and Eddie Rosario, would you have been like, yeah, we're going to win the World Series? Hell
That was
no.
lightning in the bottle. And Jock
Who
Peterson,
knows
that was lightning in the bottle.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
But
right?
you know what? We need a guy like Jock Peterson who didn't give it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
Jorge Soler was never a leadoff hitter. They said, go hit leadoff. Okay, I'm going to hit the ball 900 feet in Houston. We can't do that now. We couldn't get a guy to hit the damn ball out of the infield.
Right.
So would you re-sign Jock Peterson and if you can get rid of, let Eddie Rosario go, would you re-sign Jock Peterson and maybe platoon him with somebody like Adam Duvall? Duvall loves Atlanta.
Damn, we're gonna just add new tread on the back of these tires that have already run out.
Is Julio Franco available? We can get him.
What about Lemke? Can he spell Ozuna?
We can bring back Julio Teheran if you want to go the Julio.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. He could be the starter opening day.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I gotta look that up because didn't the Brewers pick him up or somebody like that?
He was pitching for the Brewers.
I think he's a free agent this upcoming year.
Yeah, I think they released him.
He went 3-5 with a 4.40 ERA. Started 14 games. Hell, we could have taken that.
Yeah,
bring him back. Let him start opening day for next year. See if he can break the record. Speaking of breaking records, though, I think we broke a record of Eddie being angry tonight. I think this was.
I'm smiling.
I call it keeping it real. This is the same Eddie I've known for a long time, and I love it.
I'm passionate. Give me a break. Stop it, Paul.
Paul, if you wanted to see angry, you should have seen me last Saturday night at 11:40.
I'm sure.
I thought of you.
Living hell out of my sectional in my basement. I must have hit that couch with a 27-piece combination. I look like Mike Tyson in his prime. Then my wife, we had a party at our house. And she goes, Dave, come upstairs and have a drink. I said, just leave me the hell alone.
Yeah.
And I sat here till 3 a.m. like a mental patient, just staring at the TV, screaming at Twitter. Like, what am I doing?
No, I thought so. So that happened. We were doing our show. We were doing our post-game overreaction show. We were like 2.5 hours deep into it. We go for like 3 hours. And somebody's like, yo, Miami just lost to Tech. And I'm like, what? Because I had the scores pulled up on my other monitor. Right. And I hadn't looked at it in a couple minutes. And I was like, they had the ball. What's going on? And so I get I go on Twitter. I'm like, oh my God. And my first thought was like, dude, somebody needs to check in on John Michaels, man, make sure he's all right. Like, that's my boy, dude. Like, make sure he's good. You know?
John, where does that come from? Did you grow up there? Did you go to school there?
I lived in South Florida for 20 years. And
you didn't go to school in Miami.
No, I couldn't afford it. It's a private school. It's a private school that costs almost $70,000 a year.
Really?
Oh yeah. When I graduated high school in '92, I did get accepted to UM. That was my dream school. And they were like, cool, here's a $20,000 grant. Tell your mom. At the time, it was like 50. Your mom needs to come up with 30 grand. And my mom looks at me and goes, I don't make 30 grand. This is 92. Times are a lot different.
Yeah.
Goes, I can't afford that. And I called and was like, what can I do? And they were like, yeah, nothing. They were like, if you don't have 30 grand, you're not coming to school here. So I didn't go. My grandfather, the story behind it, my grandfather used to sneak into the Orange Bowl in the 50s and watch George Myra Sr. play. He passed down his love of the school because he lived like 7 minutes from the old Orange Bowl, maybe 10 minutes. So he passed down his love to me in 1980. So as a 6-year-old, suddenly, and I tell anybody, South Florida at the time, you had the Dolphins and the Canes. Canes didn't have a basketball team. The Miami Heat didn't exist. The Miami Marlins didn't exist. The Florida Panthers didn't exist. Right. It was the Canes football. It was the Dolphins and Miami Hurricane baseball. That's all we had. So I ended up loving all of those teams, and that was kind of it. Yeah. And unfortunately, my poor son has to try to like the Canes. He's like, Dad, they've never been good since I've been alive.
And you named me that. My God.
He's like, thanks. Can I change my name? No.
Dad, when I turn 18, I'm changing my name to Bulldog. So you just got to deal with it. Changing my name to Falcon so I can be in some more misery.
Oh God, I'll be a Falcon. I'll be Freddie the Falcon or whatever.
Are you a Dolphins fan still? Or
I grew up a Dolphin fan, but working for the Falcons for so long, getting to know everybody from the top of the organization down, it's like the NFL, and I do still cheer for the Dolphins. I want them to do well. But Sundays I watch Falcons games. The Dolphins will be on in the background, or I'll flip back and forth to stuff. But I've been a Falcon fan for close to 20 years now, from the time doing post-game radio to anything. It's like when you're invested, and you're invested where you're there and getting to know everybody, there's no choice but to love those guys.
Were you a fan of the 98 Super Bowl?
I moved here in August of 98.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I remember that Super Bowl. I remember the next day, it's like we were reading Robinson, got in trouble for soliciting a prostitute. I'm like, what's going on here? And I was in
Miami. That's what that was.
I mean, I was in ninth grade or 10th grade, and I was like, what is going on? I was like, you're a professional football player. How are you getting caught doing that?
So for this generation, a lot of people don't remember what the 80s and 90s were. And this was my impression of the Falcons before I moved up here. They were in the old NFC West. So they played the Niners. Was it the Niners, the Rams, and the Cardinals, I think, were in the division?
Yep.
The only time I ever saw them in South Florida was when the Falcons were playing the Niners in a 4:30 kick, or they were playing the Cowboys in a 4:30 kick. And typically those were games the Falcons lost 55-10. Yep. So when I moved here, I was like, oh my God, now I got to live in a city with this NFL team. And lo and behold, they go 14-2 the first year I'm here, upset the Vikings, and go to the Super Bowl. So
they suck you right in.
Yeah, and I was like, holy cow, they're good. And, then Mike Vick was here shortly thereafter, and they were the most exciting thing to watch. And, unfortunately, it's been more downs than up, although, with Matt Ryan for all those years, I always felt like there was a puncher's chance in every game they were going to be in because you had a quarterback.
Had a franchise quarterback, yeah.
Yep. Wish we had him now.
I know, gosh.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in Dane Young. Dane, they're about to get started on Film Don't Lie here on the channel, but we've had a pretty good, interesting conversation here with John Michaels, 680 The Fan. So Eddie and Andy keep bringing in the big timers here. So you have to step your game up.
What do you do, Paul?
I'm just here. I run the show is all. I just send the link out. Yeah.
He's great at it. So yeah.
But guys, make sure you stick around for Dane Young and Brent Rollins' Film Don't Lie.
Hey guys, I got one more thing before we go.
Okay.
My niece plays volleyball for the Hart County High School, and they are going to the playoffs. I want to shout out Hannah Harris and Hart County High School. Hopefully they can go win those playoffs.
There you go.
Let's go. Dane, what are you guys talking about tonight?
The live show that we're doing right after this is just all the offensive mistakes that Georgia made against Vanderbilt. So you'll see some inaccurate quarterback passing, some issues on the offensive line. Not talking a lot about Brock Bowers because it's all based on injury status. But Georgia's inconsistent, and we'll try to show you why.
And are they inconsistent because Brock Bowers isn't on the field?
Well, you're not as good of a team when your best player leaves the field.
Exactly.
Lad McConkey's not there as well. Yeah, that's got a lot. So.
Well, the best player on this team is going to check us all out, guys. We appreciate you so much for watching the All Things Georgia show.
Thank you, John.
Eddie from Acworth.
John,
thank you so much. Hey, John, stick around. We're getting out of here, and we'll talk to you right after the show. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next Sunday. Who knows who Eddie and Andy's bringing on? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get Dan Marino in here next week. We'll see you soon.